Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Aquarian Mind podcast. Today's podcast, episode number 189. I'm your host, Jamel Crothers, and it's Book Inside Friday. And it's time to delve into writing A Man's Plight 3. And it was a book where I wrote about something that doesn't get talked about as much as it should. Paternity leave. While there are great articles written about it, the stories about what men face when it comes to this isn't really written in books. And I felt it was time to write a story about this after, doing research on the topic and how it affects families in today's world. As you heard what I just said, it affects families. It doesn't affect just the man. It affects, his significant other and the rest of the family. Now, Bernard is the main character. And I needed to not only delve into paternity leave, but what men are going through while preparing for their newborn child to come into the world. And there's so much that goes into this whole situation and how a new child coming into the world. So I was sure to tackle as much of this as possible. Now, due to men being ostracized and criticized for taking paternity leave, I needed to share that part of what men deal with. The culture of companies and corporate America and how men don't take time off after their children are born. And this is not only just an issue that's going on here in the United States, but this is a worldwide situation, not just in Western culture, and somehow we've lost the concept of family. And I had to write it to where Bernard deals with his career being impacted because he's taking time off to be with his wife and newborn child. The criticisms he'd get, the uncomfortable feelings at work, preparing for his daughter to come into the world, the finances, him being scared about fatherhood, all of these things that he faces. The importance of paternity leave and the impact it has on corporate America is immense. The problem is, no one really wants to address it. No one wants to look at the landscape of how companies handle it and give men the leeway to utilize it. See, men are seen as weak and not dedicated to their companies if they take time off. That's the narrative in today's world. And there's a loss of family values and the focus and fixation on capitalism. It's growing the company more than watching your child or children grow. It's the realities of what this world is currently, and it's necessary to go down the road of telling these stories. The written articles about this are great, and I've read plenty of them. But now it's time to tell the stories of what men face raising a family. It's not an easy subject to talk about, but sadly, a lot of companies only offer maternity leave and not paternity leave. I wrote this story with the intention to open eyes to the realities of this. I thought about how many men want to take time off but can't. Thought about how the men whose careers changed because of it. Thought of the men who don't really have a voice when it comes to this and how to go about changing the narratives of this. And while I enjoyed writing this book, I just hope that this story, which is a short story, because I obviously didn't want to overwrite the book, it helps everyone to understand what's at stake when it comes to raising a family. It shouldn't fall on the woman to take care of every single thing. A man has to do his part in the home too. There has to be a change in the men being the breadwinners and women taking care of home. A happy medium among couples is what's needed, and balance is surely necessary. Because the work world has changed. And there are a lot of women who own companies and run businesses and who are lawyers and doctors and executive vice presidents of companies and not just CEOs but CFOs, and are doing very well for themselves. They are principals of schools and assistant principals and mental health counselors and psychologists and psychiatrists and so many other career paths that these amazing, smart, and intelligent women go down. But it shouldn't all be on them now. The world's different. Back in the 40s and 50s, things were different. Men worked you know, in certain industries, and they were the breadwinners, and you were able to buy a home and raise about raise 2 to 3 kids and be perfectly fine. And women would stay home and tend to their children and make sure the home is well taken care of. But now things have changed, and there's got to be balance, and men need to be able to take time off to be with their significant other, which is either their girlfriend or their wife, or whatever they use for terms in regards to their relationship, and to be with their newborn child, which is either their son or their daughter. And these are stories that are not discussed enough. And when you delve into this book, you will hear this story from Bernard's perspective, and it's about becoming a father, and it's paternity leave, and it's him being ostracized and criticized when he does go to his boss to say, I need to take time off for my newborn child, and how that affects him, how he becomes stressed and mentally fatigued, and he's trying to prepare for his daughter to come into the world, but now he has to decide on his career and his advancement, and how he's got to go back to work, and a lot of other things that happen as far as other men in the world and what they're dealing with, and how there's really a grim outlook on paternity leave, and how a lot of companies don't offer it. There's a very small percentage of companies that fully offer it and give men the time off, and how there has to be this decision between family or money and career, right? And it should never be down to that, and it should never be about making those types of decisions. But this is what men have to deal with, right? And I did address the maternity leave in the Women's Worth series, and how the United States is one of the worst countries in the world in regards to that. So if they're one of the worst in maternity leave, can you imagine where they are ranked as far as paternity leave? It's way worse, right? And we sit here and look at a myriad of other countries in Europe and in South America and other continents, and these countries are giving young men and young women the opportunity to have all the time off that they need in order to start raising their child, right? Because here in the United States, it's make sure that both parents are in the workplace and the children are being indoctrinated in the education system, but neither here or there, right? Don't worry, I'll be delving down that road in regards to that type of content in the near future. But for now, I want to stick to the subject at hand. And I want men to be able to enjoy and experience fatherhood, and they want to, be able to raise their children and do right by them. Because this world is inundated with negativity, and how there are too many men that are not involved in their children's lives. Meanwhile, I know a myriad of men who are involved in their children's lives on an everyday basis. I have 2 friends who have three children each, and they have been involved in their children's lives every single day of their lives. My best friend has 3 kids, and he's been involved in their lives every single day. I have another best friend who has a daughter. He's involved in her life every single day. I have another friend who is involved in his son's life every single day. But they don't get the credit, do they? Right? So don't worry. I have people around me who are fathers who do it all for their children and their significant others or wives or fiancés or however, right? But can you imagine probably what they had to deal with trying to take time off from their jobs to be there with their wives and their significant others when their child was born into the world? And why are we at this place in this world where capitalism is more important than family, right? You see that, right? And I won't delve into what I really want to delve into. I don't want to get too political. But I will say world events will make you change. It made a lot of companies change their ways and their mindsets on how they approach the growth of, you know, their brands, right? So always know that I write these stories with purpose and reason. It's also to make you guys think. It's also to get you guys to understand that we have so many social issues that are going on in this world, and we need to address them one by one. Because I'm not just focused on one or two specific social issues. I'm pretty much invested into everything. And it's why I will continue to push the envelope. It's why I will write the stories that I do. This isn't about making like $15 million, anything like that. No. I want to do well. I want to succeed. And this was a story that really wasn't on the forefront of things to write, but when I did my research on some of the major social issues that men face, you know, paternity leave was there, but it wasn't like at the top of all the other things that we deal with, mental health and finances and things of that nature, which I did address in this series. But the point is that there are subjects like this that aren't being discussed in corporate America spaces. They aren't. Trust me. And I did my research and I wrote the articles, but trust me, when I did research on this stuff, I wasn't finding any stories or books that were written about this. Not at all. There might be. Possible. I just haven't come across it yet, but I wouldn't mind being the first author that writes a fictional story about a young man who is excited to become a father for the first time in his life, and he has to choose his family over his finances. But don't worry. All I will say is that the story has a feel-good ending. All right, y'all. That's what went into writing A Man's Plight Part 3. I hope you guys are enjoying listening to the book Insight. Obviously, the ebook and paperback links will be in the description. And I thank you guys for listening. As always, if you guys want to check out the books, you guys know where to find them. And I'm zipping on out of here to go enjoy my weekend. So, with that said, enjoy your weekends. Be safe. Be good, everyone, and go accomplish your goals.